If written like a news report, what stories from the Bible were done by Florida man? Florida man beats 1,000 men to death with donkey bone, gets regrettable haircut. Claims his mullet is source of his strength. Florida man threatens to cut woman's baby in half over custody dispute. Florida men sell brother into human trafficking and pretend he was killed by alligators. Upon further questioning, the alligator denied everything and was later cleared of all charges. Authorities revealed the gator was just ornery because he had so many teeth and couldn't locate a toothbrush. And now, here's Tom with the weather. Thanks, Jim. We are expecting over 999,999,999 inches of rain. Wait, what's rain? Great question. To Monsieur apparently. It's supposed to be water like in the sea. But get this. Falling from the sky. Sounds absurd, right? If you want more details, I guess you can say we know a guy. And now, here's Janice with sports. Thanks Monsieur. So the local lion fighting scene is all ablaze with unconfirmed reports that a man survived and was unharmed after the latest Man vs. Lion entertainment. We are awaiting the statement from the Lions trainer, but right now, it looks like they spent too much time lying around. Back to you now, Tom. Florida man found washed up on beach, claims to have been living inside whale. Florida man drives 2,000 pigs to mass suicide by drowning. This sounds like an episode of South Park. Florida man ties 300 foxes together, straps lit torch to each. Just Samson's entire life. Most of judges. Really. Florida woman accused of nailing man's head to the floor. Florida man found murdered on toilet. Assistant thought he was constipated. Florida man dismembers murdered wife. Mails pieces across country. Florida man found guilty of murder pardoned by public vote. I love democracy. Florida man tears lion apart with his bare hands after practicing on goats. Doesn't tell parents. Judges chapter 14 verse 6. Florida man convinces neighbors to go into desert, gets lost for 40 years. Over distances you can walk in a week. Florida man gives 200 involuntary circumcisions, presents foreskins to father-in-law. You beat me to it. Haha. My headline was Florida man in custody for attempting to purchase woman with bag of foreskins. Insists price is fair by market standards. Florida man, yet again gives biting criticism regarding minimum wage in the U.S. by stealing the tips of 200 foreigners. Donkey is in a stable condition after being beaten by Florida man. Florida man reports the donkey was arguing with him. Shrek. Florida man feeds children to bears. This story always fucked me up. Mons had 40 kids mauled cause they called him bald. Sounds like something my brother-in-law would do. Florida man killed after refusing to impregnate brother's wife. Florida man found running illegal zoo on a cruise ship in the Middle East waters. Edit. My first award whatsoever for fooling around on the internet. Thank you kind strangers. Florida man kills 6'9" man using slingshot to the head. From the text it actually appears that Goliath likely had acromegaly and was disabled by it. There's a couple of lines that make it seem like he was partially blind. And if he were truly as big as the story says, he'd have severe heart problems and bad joints too. Basically the story of David and Goliath is about a relatively intelligent teenager with a sling. A weapon as accurate and deadly as a handgun, picking off a disabled guy who couldn't even properly see Hi Monsieur by staying back a few dozen yards. He negated all of Goliath's advantages. There's a great TED Talk about this. How Goliath appears to suffer from basically a form of gigantism, with symptoms being nearsightedness, etc. It's fascinating with how it completely twists the David versus Goliath story around. Basically, Goliath was used as an intimidation factor because of his size and strength, and I'm sure would win his fights with brute force. So it seems like the only kind of person who could actually easily take him down was a dude with a sling. Those slings are ridiculously powerful, ridiculously accurate in the right hands. And let's be honest, shepherds had lots of time and reason to practice. And the stones used were rounded river stones, which would be more accurate and hard as a mofo. One of those clacking you on the forehead at 100 miles per hour would be enough to severely injure or kill basically anyone. Florida man sues woman for making him try fruit. That would be California. Adam, Eve, the Satan. California state. Warning. This fruit contains chemicals known to the state of California to cause cancer and birth defects or other reproductive harm. Florida man sent to die with lions ends up befriending the monsieur. Florida man single-handedly builds massive boat, leaves rest of humanity to die. Several species extinct after Florida man hosts barbecue, forgets nobody else to invite. Florida man wanders into local church, begins upending tables. Florida man sells best friend for a sack of quarters, commits suicide. Florida man arrested after dumping buckets of frogs and blood onto neighbor's property. Florida man arrested after wandering neighborhoods with slate declaring new government. Police determine slate stolen from local Home Depot. Florida man arrested for peeping on neighbor in her bathroom from his rooftop. Told police, "When I saw her in the bath I knew I had to marry her." Florida man fleeing from tragedy gets drunk and is raped by both his daughters. Later they confessed to have been seeking pregnancy. I think a better one from the lot ordeal would be, Florida man tries to convince a gay crowd to rape his daughters in an attempt to protect the angels. Florida man almost kills his son because a voice told him to. This has probably happened though. Destroys local fig tree in rage over lack of figs, when it wasn't even fig season. Florida man gets crucified, walks it off. Florida man worked 7 years to get his sweetheart's father's blessing. What happened next will shock you. Quote, "Father of the bride switched daughters. It was dark and I fucked the wrong one. Now I have to work another 7 years to get the right one." Trixie Hobbits is, quote, "Florida man steals and eats a poisonous apple, says wife told him to." Florida man has intercourse with his own rib. Florida man kills his brother because he was envious of how good his sacrifice was. When asked, "Where is the sheep herder?" he responded, "What am I, some sort of brother herder? Now listen here, you little shit. God." Florida man forced to lay with maid because wife is too old to bear children. Florida man forced to lay with maid because wife is too old to bear children. Asterisk and wife tells him it's fine and she okay with it. Asterisk. This just in. Wife is now also pregnant and claims she is no longer okay with it. Update. Descendants of the two sons still hate each other 4,000 years later. No end in sight. Arsonist sets shrubbery on fire, claims it was telling me what to do. Florida man caught with 100 foreskins, claims that he was just saving up for a wife. Florida man tricks strangers into drinking his blood, says it's wine. Florida man dies, comes back 3 days later. Florida man sells his birthright for a bowl of lentil soup. Florida man travels to Egypt and threatens Egyptian government because a bush told him to. Florida man rubs mud made from spit in a blind man's eyes and claims he can now see. Hangry Florida man disappointed fig tree has no fruit. Places curse on tree in fit of rage so no one can eat from it again. Mark chapter 11 verses 12 to 14. Florida man tries to feed 5,000 people with a single fish and 1 loaf of bread. Is successful. Florida man convinces clucky daughters there are no men left on earth. Proceeds to get raped by both of them in a drunken stupor. Genesis chapter 19 verses 30 to 38. A Jacksonville woman claimed in court yesterday that a snake told her to steal fruit from the Eden Road Walmart in Jacksonville. An accomplice, her mentally impaired husband, was also arrested. After psychiatric reports, Judge Diaz sentenced the pair to community service across the state line in Georgia as part of a new interstate care and some other suckers community scheme. Florida woman lures house guest with milk, nails head to floor. Florida man destroys cow statue, denounces community project as heresy. Florida man ties foxes together in pairs of 2 before setting fire to their tails and releasing them into neighbors' wheat fields. Florida man spends all night in lion's den. Found next day rubbing their starving heads. Florida man kills 9 feet tall giant with slingshot. Was ready for more. Florida man swallowed by whale. Found unharmed 3 days later. Florida man takes water and turns it into alcohol. Absolute madman. Florida man arrested for giving homemade alcohol to minors made from bodily fluids and fishing without a license. Florida woman arrested after yelling, "I need donkey dick," at daycare. Edit. It's Ezekiel chapter 23 verse 20. * There she lusted after her lovers, whose genitals were like those of donkeys and whose emission was like that of horses. * I added the daycare for artistic flair. Florida man caught in attempted murder of own son. Claims God demanded it. Florida man rampages in high temple. Money changers and bazaar attendees flee in fear. Florida man claims he's 500 years old. Thinks there is only 8 people left on earth and proceeds to have intoxicated incestuous sex for repopulation. Genesis chapter 9 verses 20 to 21. Isn't that just Noah falling asleep drunk and naked? Sure is. He made a vineyard, got drunk off it, and decided to breed with the last 8 people on earth. Florida woman creates entire religion stop husband from finding out she cheated. Florida man allows gang to rape his daughters, says that it was either them or the angels. Controversy. Florida man lies with Florida man as most would lie with a Florida woman. Florida man rescues village from invading army, slays their giant, becomes king and then demands all women of the land be his wives and or mistresses. That would be Florida teen, wouldn't it? Florida man caught spying on woman bathing on rooftops. In bizarre twist, marries woman, has husband killed, becomes hero. God being God should do it. Florida man creates beings with free will, punishes them for using it. Florida man fucks up a civilization and runs off with an unknown group. Florida man is still at large. In other news, a tornado made of fire was seen today and we have an exclusive interview with the Pharaoh, King Ramses. How the hell, Ramses? Florida man silencing women, declares all women must be quiet and never claim authority over men. Timothy 2:12. I think this one belongs to Alabama. That's a funny way to spell Saudi Arabia. Maybe it should be Alabama. It's kind of ironic that this is in the New Testament, when the Christian church as a whole started out as a religion mostly followed by women and slaves. It wasn't until the 3rd century that it became a mainstream religion for men, and only in the 4th century that it began to eclipse paganism, when King Tiridates made it the state religion of Armenia, and then later still when Constantine made it his own semi-official religion. If the rule that women weren't allowed to preach had been followed before this, the religion would have been just another one of the short-lived sects infesting the Roman Empire. Thank you for watching.